Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
So one of the things that you talk about, both in the report, and I've spoken with you about this before, is pushing out negative information about a candidate that's been selected, to be targeted, to turn black voters against them. But it's who they're using as the voice, quote unquote, the digital voice, are supposedly also black people who are spreading that message. And here's what you write about fake accounts that are not necessarily really black people, but who seem to be black people who are saying, hey, Kamala's a cop, or this person is bad for black people. Quote, fake accounts pretending to be black women matter, not only in the disinformation campaigns, but in every election. There has been a constant number, you write, of fake accounts posing as black women since 2013. These fake accounts, which pretend to be black women, seem to be real people with real concerns. They connect with the American black community online, attempting to learn black vernacular and key issue areas.
We have identified at least 5 existing campaigns that are focused on getting black people to do only one thing, not vote for the Democrats.
And can you name one of those 5 campaigns? I mean, we put up from the report that you're saying that there's a conversation about reparations that has to do with it. There's a criminal justice conversation. Yes. There's an immigration. Go on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reparations, immigration, reparations, immigration, and anything that has to do with the criminal justice system. So the reason that the targeting of Kamala around being a cop is important is because anything that hinges on criminal justice becomes a divisive issue.
But how can people tell the difference between the real, genuine thing of Black Lives Matter and the ones that are just designed to make you not vote? How do you even tell?
So you can tell right away by the language that they use most of the time. But if you see anyone who says basically tangibles or you're not getting our vote without us getting something back, you should start to pause and take a better look at what they're saying. Better look at those accounts and seeing what they're saying.
Oh yeah, we're bringing up some of Joy Reid's greatest misses for those of you clowns, trolls, and clods in the comments section and elsewhere who've been saying, how come you're coming down on her like this? I ain't coming down on nothing. I'm telling the truth about her. This is what she was saying about us. This is what she was saying about our demands, but only black people. She would never say this about anybody else. She didn't say it about immigrants, did not say it about Asians, didn't say it about Hispanics, didn't say it about Jews, didn't say it about white women, didn't say it about anybody else. But when it comes to black people, if you're making demands, you're a Russian bot. She did that deliberately because at that time, and truth be told, it's kind of continued a little bit afterwards, anybody who was being called a Russian bot, they were coming down on Facebook and Twitter and everybody else and saying they need to be deplatformed. If these people are suspected of being Russian bots, they should immediately be deleted. They should be terminated, all the rest of it. That's what she was trying to set us up for. That's what she was doing. She didn't say, wait a minute, these people here, let's be honest about what their demands are. Let's bring them on the show. Same way that she did with these racists and bigots. See, she'll go ahead and have people like Chris Rufo on her show. She'll platform these racists and bigots. But when it comes to black people who are talking about empowerment, all of a sudden she's like, no, we're not even going to talk about them. We're just going to go ahead and trash them. And absolutely none of us have said, you know what? We need to vote for the Republicans. We never said that. What we said was, since the Democrats were not offering us anything, we were going to sit the election out. And instead of the response being, hey, we need to offer them something, instead it was, if you hear any of these niggers saying that they want to be offered something, that you need to give them something for their vote, that means that they're Russian ops.
If you see anyone who says basically tangibles or you're not getting our vote without us getting something back, you should start to pause and take a better look at what they're saying, better look at those accounts and seeing what they're saying.
Every other group says, here's what we want for our vote. Everybody else does that and there's no problem. When we do it, it's a crisis. When we do it, surely it must be the communists. This is exactly what J. Edgar Hoover used to say back in the day. This is what the white right would say about the civil rights movement. There's Dr. King and the Medgar Evers and the Malcolm X. Dr. King is a communist dupe. That's what J. Edgar Hoover would say about him. He's a communist dupe, all these niggers. Everything was fine until you had these communists come along and tell these niggers that they weren't happy. It's the same playbook that the white right used to run back in the 50s and 60s. And now you got the white left with their little bootlicks like Joke Reid running the exact same playbook. Notice that? This is the reason why we keep telling you that the similarities between the white left and the white right far outweigh any alleged differences. And when it came time to attack us, what's the first thing she was talking about? What was the first indication that you're dealing with Russian bots if they're talking about reparations?
We have identified at least 5 existing campaigns that are focused on getting black people to do only one thing, not vote for the Democrats.
And can you name one of those 5 campaigns? I mean, we put up from the report that you're saying that there's a conversation about reparations that has to do with it.
So this is how Joy Reid was going to introduce the issue of reparations. This is how she was going to introduce foundational Black Americans to the world. To say, oh, these people, they're just a bunch of trolls out of Russia. They're a bunch of Russians. There's no grassroots movement here for that. And if you hear anyone talking about reparations, they're Russian bots. And when she says immigration, what she's talking about is the line that we were taking, that mass migration is hurting the Black community. Well, if you hear anybody saying any stuff like that, if they're not praising immigration, if they're not standing for open borders, then they're Russian bots. See, we represent the Black community. Joy Reid and Shireen Mitchell don't. We aren't being paid for or funded by white money. Joy Reid is, oh, I'm sorry, I mean she was being funded by white money. MSNBC is not a Black corporation. Comcast damn sure isn't. But that's who Joy Reid works for. That's who put her on. All of her bosses and her colleagues, former bosses and colleagues, virtually all of them white. Definitely all the people that she was answering to for her paycheck, they were definitely all white. And Shireen Mitchell's the same. It's white dark money donors who fund her little operation too. This is what I've been telling you about her and other organizations like She the People and Black Pack and others. These are the people who get in front of the cameras and they tell everybody that they represent Black people. But in reality, they're nothing more than sock puppets for white dark money. Nobody ever gets on air and says, hey, Shireen Mitchell, where does your funding come from? And you got people like Adrienne Shropshire and others. Hey, say, where's the money for your little organization come from? Black Pack, She, the People, all these other little feminist groups. Where are you guys getting your money from? And yet you got Joy Reid say, these people who are online talking about tangibles and FBA and reparations, these people, surely it's the Russians behind them. These two are tools of white power. Black people just need to vote. And if they make any demands, if you see any Black people who are saying that we shouldn't vote unless we're getting something for our vote, you better be looking at them suspiciously. Man, I'm telling you right now, Strom Thurmond and the rest of the white right back in the 50s and 60s, they couldn't put that any better. That's slave master talk. Anytime if these niggers are saying that they're supposed to be getting something, you let us know about it. You get them back in line. You tell them we don't need nothing. Black folks don't need anything and don't deserve anything. I mean, the damn nerve of that little bootlick. And this is somebody who I'm supposed to be feeling sorry for? No chance. Okay, and what did all of Joy Reid's shameless bootlicking and butt-kissing and lying for massa get her? It got her tossed out the airlock. And notice how they made the announcement over a weekend? That's no accident. The government routinely will hold back on releasing information that they feel is bad or damaging to themselves until the weekend, until Friday, because that's when the least amount of people will be paying attention. In the white media, they call it the Friday news dump. So the timing of the firing of Joy Reid is no coincidence. This is what the white media does because the ties between them and the government are incestuous. One is the administrative arm of white supremacy, the other one's the propaganda arm. And of course, Joy Reid didn't get shown the door alone. Misery loves company, and she had plenty of that. Alex Wagner also got her pink slip too. And Joy has since had her final show, not that anybody noticed. Her white colleagues who didn't get canned were there to wish her good riddance, but that's about it. See, none of them are going to disagree with management on this move. None of them are going to be protesting or resigning in protest or go on air and say, we got issues with this. None of them are going to be saying that. Instead, they were sitting there smiling and, oh, we wish you well in your future endeavors. And there's no honor among thieves. You can bet that no doubt those same colleagues who were smiling in her face, they were going behind her back to network management probably at this very moment. And they're making suggestions to the boss. You know what? We got some white friends who could take Joy's time slot. They won't cost you much money. These are going to be good, dependable people. They should take her place on this or that panel. That's what they're doing. You better believe that's exactly what they're doing. They're already suggesting which one of their buddies is going to be taking Joy Reid's place. During the Sunday address, I told you it wouldn't be long at all before Jonathan, putting on his cape heart, also got handed his pink slip. And only a few hours later, that's exactly what happened. His show also got axed. Now, it hasn't been confirmed that he's fired. Apparently, he's going to be shoehorned into some panel show like Michael Steele and Simone Sanders are being. As I said, they're corralling all of their Negroes, the few that have survived the purge. But before it's all over, he's going to get put out. This guy has absolutely no charisma, no interest. He has nothing to add. All he can do is sit there and think he's looking cute. So when Capehart inevitably gets shown the door, I can suggest that he and Don Lemonade team up and do a show together. Perhaps they'll call it the Lavender Room, or maybe the Sweet Cheeks Hour. One can hope. Now, there's been more than a few shea butter refugees who have been trying to make this out to be some kind of injustice that's happened to Joy Reid, like this is some horrible thing. She made a career out of dancing with the devil. Am I supposed to be offended or surprised that they didn't stop being the devil? See, this is the reason why delineation is so important for foundational Black Americans. When you delegitimize these tools, white power just goes ahead and gets rid of them. When it's done with the tool, it breaks the tool. They had no permanent plans for her, and this is her just finding out at the last moment all of that skullduggery and all of that dirtbag behavior that she engaged in against us, all of her attempts to try to start up some effort to deplatform the Black media, because that's what all that talk about Russian bots was meant to do. It was meant to make it where our channels and our social media feeds would start disappearing, and that was supposed to be the end of us. That's what she was trying to set in motion, and it was going to be a Black person who set that up, just like Barack Obama led the charge against the term woke. Just like nigga Jim Clyburn was sitting there saying, stop sloganeering, kill, stop talking about defund the police. They always get some of their little bootlicking Negroes out there to go ahead and break the ice for them before the rest of them come right behind them. All the phony play acting that she's done all these years, like she didn't know why Trump won the election in 2016, talking about, well, it was disinformation campaigns meant to suppress the Black vote. That's a lie. On her own sideshow, she herself admitted that they know Black voter turnout was down big in 2016, at the lowest level in 20 years. This is what she said on her own show. Back in 2017, right after the Orange Man had been inaugurated, this is what they were acknowledging, that Black voter turnout had been down in 2016 to its lowest level in 20 years. So Joy Reid and the Democrats are fully aware of exactly what it is that's going on with the Black vote. They know that they're lying about any Russian disinformation campaigns and all their other phony talking points. See, what had happened was we hadn't yet reached that critical mass of Black people where we were in their faces. The message was still one that they could deny or pretend wasn't there. It hadn't become a big enough issue where it was just slapping them in the face, punching them in the face. That hadn't happened yet in 2017, but by 2020, it had. That's the reason why they weren't talking any lies about, well, what about these Black people online who were talking about reparations and talking about what Black people are supposed to get intangible? They thought that they could ignore it. Yeah, they could, right up until the moment they couldn't. There's no need for the Republicans, Russians, or anyone else to suppress the Black vote. The biggest group who's been suppressing Black voter turnout has been the Democrats and their incompetent cable flunkies like Joy Reid. Black people made demands, and the Democrats said, we're not going to do anything that benefits you. And people like Joy Reid used her platform to attack us. That is what makes Black voters stay home on Election Day. If no one's offering you anything on Election Day, then why the hell would you turn out to vote? There's nothing in it for you. Do you do it simply as an empty civic exercise? Reid and her pals go on the warpath for abortion and blanket amnesty for illegals, and of course, to make sure that the Israeli war machine stays cherry. Or if they choose to, they'll go ahead and give a couple of phony sympathetic tears for the Palestinians. But for Black people, they're on a jihad to tell us that we better not demand anything. Everybody else has a right to make demands except for us. So when you hear some of these leftist mouthpieces who try to rewrite the history books and claim that Joy Reid was repping Black people, because that's what they're trying to do right now, you better call them out on it. They're lying. Joy Reid knows exactly what the assignment was, so to speak. When she got hired, she knew exactly what her job was. To be the Black face that was going to demonize us and our talking points. And she would try to pejoratize terms like FBA. See, when you have people like Chris Rufo running around attacking terms like critical race theory and woke and DEI and others, the idea is to take a term and turn it into a euphemism for niggers, what they meant. Or to take something that's supposed to be a concept that benefits us and to tell people that it's evil and wrong and you shouldn't be doing it. But you see that the white right's not the only ones who do that mess. You got the white leftist media doing the exact same thing, taking our terms, taking our names, taking our verbiage, taking our demands, and saying this is wrong and America needs to be against it. Yeah, operating out of the same playbook as Christopher Rufo and the others. See, her goal was to stop our movement before it could even get started. Once they saw that, oh, this thing ain't dying out, it's not burning out, we're not going to ignore them out of existence, then it became, okay, fine then, just tell everybody that these guys are Russian bots. Tell them that they're all Republicans or something. Just lie about them. And you actually have people with the nerve to tell us that we should feel sorry for her now after she tried to get rid of us. Because all that talk about Russian bots, that was meant to be the first step to having us deplatformed. That was supposed to be what came next. And even when you had people online who were bombarding her, people who have names and faces and videos and all the rest of it, telling her, hey, we're not bots, we're black people here. Why are you sitting here lying about us? She wouldn't respond. Oh, and for you little shea butter trolls who've been sitting here infesting my comment section, whining about, she's a black woman, you know, you do wrong with this, all that faux feminist nonsense. Well, I'll tell you something. You had people like Brianna Grace saying that Joy Reid blacklisted her from being on her show. So as Joy Reid saw it, she was gatekeeping for the white media. So if we're supposed to be so concerned about black women's voices being heard, how come you don't have a problem with the fact that Joy Reid was squelching black women's voices? Yeah, if you didn't say the right things. Keep in mind that clowns come online and they try to tell you that Joy Reid was putting people on. Joy Reid was giving people exposure. She was giving new, fresh voices a platform on her show. She was using her show as a way to help people who couldn't be heard be heard. No, she was doing the same old game. She would bring in the same old handful of curated DNC shills, people who were bought and paid for, people who were on the take, and they would come on her show, repeat all of the lines, and sell the soap. She knew exactly what they were going to say before they said it. There was nothing new or fresh or original about any of them. These are people who basically have been Democratic Party volunteers and worked on campaigns since they were teenagers. Basically, they were doing the same thing as Simone Mamie Sanders. That's how she came up through the DNC ranks, going ahead and selling the soap for the Democrats, telling blatant lies about the Biden crime bill and others. So that's what she was doing, giving some of these wannabe up-and-coming Democrat shills a way for them to get some face time and say, hey, invite me to the next convention. I want to be a superdelegate. Since the black media has been effective in using the online space to spread the message, Joy Reid's goal was to stop us early, keep us from having an impact on the political discourse, because she knew where this would lead. They all knew. And then once we were all deplatformed, then nobody would be around to point to her and the part that she played in it. That's what she thought would happen. It would be the perfect crime. Her attack on us was meant to be a preemptive strike, but it was already too late. Her attacks failed, though it wasn't for lack of trying. Joy Reid hasn't been on our side any more than the fakers, frauds, phonies, and fools of the Congressional Black Caucus have. They're all on their own side, and that side is against us. I need you to understand how this woman has just been absolutely unscrupulous against us. Now, when she had that Shireen Mitchell woman on her show, do you think it was some sort of accident that they had the doggone graphics up and ready to highlight all of her little talking points before she even said them? And when they do something like that, that's because they're trying to emphasize that point. They're endorsing it. That's why they come up with a graphic for it. You don't see them coming up with graphics that are meant for things that they don't agree with, do you? This is the reason that Joy Reid has never spoken up for reparations, except the one time she mentioned it was to attack it and to say that that's just Russian disinformation. Yeah, because why would black people want reparations? Why would black people want anything? If you see anybody out here saying that black people demand tangibles, that's Russian bots. I mean, black people are totally fine. They don't need any tangibles. They don't want anything at all. All they care about is just being mindless drones who vote because they're told to. And I'm supposed to actually respect a bootlicking shill who says that? You're doggone right that black voters are demanding something that we can hold in our hands and put in our bank accounts. If you want our vote, you cannot show up empty-handed. But Joy Reid saying, no. The only way to come to the black community is empty-handed. Everybody else's demands result in tangibles for them. I've outlined just a few of those instances in the last few days. And Joy Reid and the rest of the white left media, they're fine with that. That's not Russian disinformation. Every other group gets things, that's fine. But when the black people who built this country make demands, well, that's something that has to be attacked. It has to be destroyed. Tangibles is only wrong if we're the ones getting them. And this is supposed to be what the white media puts forward as a black person who's saying this garbage. And you online shills, you online ops, you have the nerve to ask why we're not sad to see her sorry behind gone. Joy Reid is, or should I say was, the black face of white supremacy on cable. She doesn't want us to get anything at all. She didn't want us making any demands either. Here we are getting killed. Here we are being completely and thoroughly ignored out of existence. We're being denied what we must have in order for us to thrive, in order for us to merely survive. And she says, you shouldn't get anything at all. In fact, you shouldn't be making any demands. And if you do, well, you're a Russian op. When we talk about tethers and vicious bootlicks, Joy Reid is the kind of walking garbage we're talking about. See, the black media understands that protracted struggles like the ones that we're waging, it's on a continuum. It's not an event, it's a process. And that being the case, now that these bootlicks have seen we're not going away, they're like, oh, well, we want to stop this process before it goes any further, because they're just going to keep doing that. You're damn right we are. We built this country, and we have been denied what we are owed. We have been denied the fruits of our own labors, and we've seen our fruits of our labors being handed off to everybody else, including immigrants like Joy Reid. Now, this is something I need for you, the black grassroots, to understand. The reason that you had Joy Reid and the others crashing out like this, especially as our voices became absolutely undeniable, it's because it's your eyes and ears that they're fighting for. They're fighting to capture your eyes and ears and to hold on to them. That's why they lie so much. They have to trick you into obeying them, deceive you, scare you, insult you, whatever it takes to make you obey. That's why they were talking about black women during that piece. They were trying to hold on to that last little group who they thought would still vote for nothing, and black women proved them wrong. We're getting to the point now where we're reaching those critical masses now. We're reaching those tipping points. They're worried. They should be. The goal has always been to keep us being the cheerleaders for everybody else. See, after slavery, usually an enslaved group gets liquidated. That means that they're mass exterminated. But we proved not just to be a hard kill, but to be an impossible kill. So the strategy the white power and its non-white collaborators have pursued ever since 1865 is to slowly strangle us out of existence. This is why ignoring and denying our demands is a key part of that. They're trying to do what they failed to do 150 years ago. And people like Joy Reid are trying to help them do it. So if you're one of the clowns sticking up for her, congratulations, you're the weakest link. We were right, you were wrong, and the hits just keep on coming. Joy Reid, like the rest of the bootlicks, she bought into her own lies. She created a little bubble for herself over at MSNBC and then populated that bubble with other professional suck-ups like Jason Johnson, Eli Mistal, Shireen Mitchell, and others. Career DNC shills and sellouts who would sell their own mother for a chance to speak at the DNC convention. Joy Reid put these clowns on. She tried to make them a thing, and they all stuck to the same line. They thought that she was going to be their ticket to ride, but their gravy train derailed with all hands aboard. So you remember this, because there's going to be a bunch of idiots who are going to be calling themselves over the next few days, well, as long as this is part of the news cycle, which won't be long. They'll be trying to say, oh, it was y'all people online. Y'all should not be glad that her show got canceled. She wasn't doing a dang thing for anybody except for herself, and she used her show as a platform to attack us. We got black folks here who are fighting for our survival, and here Joy Reid is saying black people shouldn't get anything. And if you think that she thought that you were some sort of person to be respected, you're a new fool. This woman, she didn't care about anything but herself. As far as she was concerned, her audience was not the few brain-dead shea butter bootlicks who might have had the misfortune of being dumb enough to listen to her show. The people that she thought of as her actual audience, the people that she was actually performing for every night on her side show, were the white executives at MSNBC. That's who she saw as being her real audience. That's who she was really trying to speak up for the interest of, whose interest she really wanted to represent, not black people's. Well, she went ahead and she licked their boots to a mirror shine, and this was how they repaid her. And as far as I'm concerned, character truly became destiny on this one. Joy Reid bet everything that white power was going to remain in charge and that massa was going to reward her for her shameless butt kissing. And in the end, she wound up the same way that all these other bootlicks before her wound up. They never, ever learn. But one thing that they all eventually learn, even if they don't dare to admit it, is that when it comes to the black grassroots, we're not playing any games when it comes to our interests. And if you don't stand with us, then you stand in our way. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Arlaz, Cornell Sly, Kenneth Johnson, Roxanne Allen, and Rhonda Handsome. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.